Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your forever trainee hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Today we will rejoin with the Demon Slayer Corps to do some training during the calm before the explosive storm. So we will of course discuss the new season of Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. For that, let's take a look at some of the fresh anime premieres that just hit our screens in the sneak peek. Grab your favorite training buddies. Make the wise choice to abandon the annoying yellow-haired one that for some reason is always tagging along even though nobody wants him to. And definitely don't pause the pod. We'll be right back. Alright, yeah, sneak peek time. And, John, I gotta say, this season is slim pickings.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few things that I think look neat. There's only like 2 shows I know for sure I'm going to stick with, but there's some other stuff that looks alright. One show in particular, I wish it looked a little bit better, and I'm kind of concerned about the origin of its production, but you know.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I assume you will elaborate on that?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. Oh yeah, sorry. For first-time listeners, of course, as usual, we have 3 sections in this, usually. Our nopes, our maybes, and our keepers. Nopes are the shows we're not going to keep on watching after checking out the premiere. Maybes are shows we might be keeping on watching because we saw some things that we liked, but also some that made us worry a bit, maybe. At least kept us unsure. And the keepers, shows that we most definitely probably going to keep on watching unless they have a sharp drop-off in quality or whatever. But this time around, we don't have any nopes, so John is going to lead us off directly into the maybes.
My first maybe, I was kind of curious about it because it's a studio we talked about before, and I kind of like, well, of course we've talked about several studios before, but this one in particular, I kind of like seeing what they have cooking. It's TASUKETSU, Fate of the Majority, being worked on by our friends, because we totally personally know them, over at Satellite. And it's the story about these high schoolers who get basically thrown into this Ow the Edge death game.
Oh, great.
Where every night there's a question asked of them, and it's a yes or no question in most cases. Like it is a binary choice question. It is one or the other. And whoever is the majority in response to that question, become dead. Okay,
interesting setup. Like interesting mechanic.
Yes, but there's also this thing going around where the person who is leading this death game, who is just called the Emperor at this point, has scattered around Japan these rights and these like prime rights. And some of them, you know, allow you to basically change the rules of the game if you find them. There's some things going on with that are kind of interesting because one of the characters, it's assumed one of the characters found a right at this point called the right of rejection. That's the assumption by one of the other characters, because when someone else is like, I'm going to kill you, he says to him, Kotowaru, and he can't do it. So, like I said, there's this rule-bending aspect to parts of it. So there's like these little wrinkles in here. And I think the idea is that the rights are expendable, but the prime rights are like permanent. I think that's the implication. So I think from that standpoint, there could be something interesting about this show. I was reading, and apparently like this was something that people wanted an adaptation of for like a long while, because I think the manga has been running for quite some time now. So,
interesting.
Yeah. The first episode, no spoilers, I guess, because it's only the first episode. The main character dies. So,
well, I mean, some shows have pulled that trick, right?
Yes.
To shock you, not only anime, but you know, other Western TV shows and movies, I guess, to an extent as well, and video games.
Yeah, they pulled that card real early, and I'm sort of like, what now? What do you mean?
I think the first anime where that really got me and surprised me. Spoilers for an older show is Bokurano. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And where the ostensible, where you have the typical main male shonen character, right, the go and get it done guy, who would be the main character in any other mecha or shonen battle show, whatever, and then it looks like he's gonna be the one who's steering the robot, and and then they fight the monster and they win, and then he dies. And it's like, what just happened?
I tried watching that show back in the day, and it was just there was something about it that put me off.
That's not a surprise. I mean, it's by the same guy, Mohiro Kito, the guy who also wrote Shadow Star, or Shadow Star Narutaro was the anime adaptation called, I think. And there are some things in his manga that are problematic in more ways than one. I mean, he tackles some pretty severe topics like bullying and stuff like that. Some very heavy stuff, and some of the stuff he does really well, in my opinion. I read through all of Naruto, through all of Shadow Star, so I'm familiar with that. But and Bokurano is going into the same places in a lot of aspects, only in much shorter time. And some of that stuff is really interesting, but also some of it is really, really problematic. And he also is not great about endings, I feel like. So you probably didn't miss that much, though. I didn't read the manga. I only watched parts of the anime and then dropped off for some reason. I mean,
I remember the show had a banger intro theme.
Oh yeah. Uninstall, I think.
Yeah.
Was it called? Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, that was the thing that immediately caught my gaze, and I was like, oh shit, I need to check this out. And I did, and I liked it while I watched it. But I think then I found out that they changed a lot of stuff from the manga to, I think it was a Gonzo show, and they made a lot of adjustments to make it a one season anime, and I don't know, to try to skip out on some of the more problematic stuff, and I don't know, maybe that's why I lost interest. I was saying, well, I want to experience the original vision of the creator. So maybe I'll get around to it eventually and read through it in manga form again. But how did we get to this? Oh yeah, people dying in the first episode. I love our tangents. But so that this sounds at least interesting from a perspective. Pretty sure I heard someone say something bad about it, that it felt like really trashy.
I mean, it's an edgy death game show, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I want to stick with it for at least a few episodes.
But it's entertaining. Yeah,
I'm curious to see, more than anything else, I'm curious to see how the mechanics of this work out, because all of the characters seem about as clueless as I am. So I think, narratively that works out really well.
Yeah, you can do some neat plot twists and surprises.
So what do you got?
My first maybe is Grendizer U.
Yeah.
Did you check that out after all, or was it still in your maybe I'm gonna check it out but haven't done so yet list?
I watched it last night.
Okay, so this is a remake of the third entry in the Mazinger series by Go Nagai, which I, until now, am only familiar with due to word of mouth because it's so goddamn well known. I mean, his entire work, but that one particular.
Yeah, I kind of knew of Grendizer from clips and stuff from Super Robot Wars. I don't think I ever realized just how entwined it was with Mazinger.
Yeah, I mean, me neither, but also I've never looked into that universe much. I know what kind of robots there are, and Grendizer wasn't on my radar, but, I was like, oh, okay, this is where this belongs to. And I think it was also called Goldorak in parts of the world where it was released. I don't know if that is the original Japanese name, or if that's what it was called in certain other countries.
I think it was just called UFO Robo Grendizer in Japan.
Okay, then it was Goldorak somewhere else. Maybe in the US when some of the original version was released or whatever. But yeah, it's a remake of that. Probably related to the new video game that came out for current consoles, which developed by the French team, I think. And it looked pretty cool from the trailers, and I still want to check that out, so I probably will eventually. But yeah, like I said, I haven't watched any Mazinger stuff, So in the beginning, I wanted like, how much does the show expect me to already be familiar with that universe? But thankfully, it doesn't seem like it does. Like, it pretty quickly introduces all the main characters. It's like, yes, here is Koji, who is the pilot of Mazinger, and his friend Sayaka is quickly in one scene explaining like the origin of Mazinger and where what they were doing in the other 2 seasons that came before this technically. But it's like, no, this story is mainly about a new protagonist, about Daisuke / Duke, who is an alien from the planet. Is it the planet Fleet?
That's what it seems. That's how I read it.
Yes, but also the aliens that attack, who also seem to be from that planet, are called something else, right? The Vegas troops.
Vega.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
But I'm sort of looking at this like Fleet is his name, but also the planet. So we have a Vegeta situation again.
That's what it might be, and maybe we will maybe get learn more about this, and maybe the Vegas troops are an invading force, or there are like other people also living on this planet.
I'm sorry, I just thought of my lord, Vegeta is under attack. My son, the planet, or me? Yes.
Yeah, it's a good scene. Thank you, Team 4-Star. But yeah, so this is about Daisuke, and he crash lands on Earth. His plan apparently was to throw the giant weapon he arrived in, Grendizer, who's like this mix of a round UFO and a mech, which looks really weird if it's in UFO form.
Yeah, it's very bulky.
Yeah, it looks like a mech head on the front sticking out with horns, and then this giant round body. It looks really weird but fun. So it's like you never see that in mech design. So when it transforms, it looks like a normal giant robot, right? So he planned to throw that into the sun of our solar system. Because apparently our sun is still active, which implies that their sun isn't.
How do they live then?
I have no idea. Maybe it's a Krypton situation or something. And because he apparently committed some atrocity with that weapon unwillingly on his planet, and so that it doesn't fall into anyone's hands, he plans to destroy it, but something goes wrong and he crash lands on Earth and gets picked up by Sayaka and Koji. And he has amnesia for a while, so he doesn't immediately remember why he came here. But then the Vegas troops attack Earth, and he remembers. And even though he doesn't really want to, he gets into the pilot seat of Grendizer once more and helps Koji, who at the beginning of this is outmatched by the Vegas forces because they have superior alien tech. And alien shields, alien weaponry, and Mazinger can't properly deal with that yet. I assume it will get equipped with some of Grandizer's tech as well, or upgraded, and then they will have some tech fights or whatever. But we'll see. Yeah, this looks okay, I would say. It has some really cool action scenes. I don't even know which studio is doing it offhand. But
some studio called Gaina?
Yeah, I don't know if they've done anything else. I will look it up if we review it, which is not sure yet. Like I said, it's a maybe. But yeah, decently animated, has a very cool ED. The mechs are CG, but not bad. Like I've definitely seen worse. Yeah, the first battle, even though there was not that much happening in terms of, I don't know, choreography or movesets or whatever, but it looked cool enough. The soundtrack is pretty dope. So yeah. This is just very old schoolish fun. Like this is your standard old school mech show based on a Go Nagai property, which might also spell demise for a lot of people in this show. I don't know. We'll see. The only wrinkle in this really that I saw firsthand, aside from the really shitty subs, that are the reason for that is so far was released on a Saudi Arabian streaming service. And I would assume the reason for that is also because the someone from Saudi Arabia put some money into this show, because the setting of this story has been also shifted to the Arab Emirates, because it was Japan in the original. Like, Daisuke crash lands in Japan. Here he crash lands in the Arab Emirates. And for some reason, Koji and Sayaka are there. I don't even know why, but they're there.
So I did a little bit of looking into that. And one of the companies involved is this company called Manga Productions. And their website is, the domain is .sa, which is definitely Saudi Arabia. So, Manga Productions is a subsidiary company of Mohammed bin Salman MSK Foundation.
That's not great.
No, it's not. That was where my worry comes in.
I mean, decide on your own if you want to support this show in any way possible. I don't even know where it will be streaming in the West.
I'm not sure if it is. I think it's only going to be on this one. Hold on, I have to look up the name of the streaming service. But as far as I saw, it was only on this one service called Shahid. So
I think, well, it's getting at least a normal Japanese TV release. That much I know. Maybe it's also streaming in Japan. I don't know about the rest. So we'll see.
Yeah, if you want to watch it, you have to seek it out.
Yes, absolutely. So maybe people are not even aware of this, and it's kind of at this point a somewhat obscure. I mean, some people still know about this. I'm pretty sure, especially the older generation. But yeah, we'll see if that actually hits anyone. But yeah, it's an interesting situation where it's like, okay, anime funded by maybe not such a great source, and maybe don't want to support that.
It is what it is.
Exactly. So, John, what is your next maybe?
The magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be arch enemies.
Okay. Is that an isekai, John?
No, actually.
Is that a light novel adaptation?
It's not.
Wow, okay.
It's a Bones show, believe it or not.
Oh.
And it's about this girl who is a magical girl. And when one of the, big bad evil dudes from this organization come to take up business with her, he falls in love at first sight.
Oh.
And it's just this goofy, silly story about this girl is living her life, and she's had kind of a tough life. She's living paycheck to paycheck. She kind of got talked into becoming a magical girl. But it seems like she doesn't really want to fight this guy because, he's really nice to her in spite of being, the enemy. I'm the enemy. And he has to convince himself, I'm the bad guy here. And he just can't seem to, be a bad enough guy. But there's other, people in this big bad evil organization called NieR. And I'm sure that will come to pass eventually. The format of the show is like half episodes, which I think is kind of the perfect length because I don't know how engaging it would be if it was like the length of a full episode. So it seems cute. It's, very, very, very pastel-y and very, fantastical. So I don't know, man. It's very similar in idea to that one show from couple years back, Love After World Domination. So I just want to see something, silly and fluffy like this because it seems like the two characters at least care about each other more than not at all compared to other romance anime. So
yeah, and that's rare enough. I mean, depending on where you look and what genre you look at, but how hype I was about having a shonen battle anime that actually did a romance well for fucking once in our review of Undead Unluck, so I can empathize.
I think that manga and anime writers are finally starting to understand that.
I hope so.
Which is, I look at that and I'm like, yes, keep doing that.
Yes,
I don't want any will they, won't
exactly,
they.
I'm so done with the will they, won't they tsundere bullshit. I'm so done with it. I don't want that shit in any of my anime anymore. I just want people who like each other, who maybe have some troubles getting along, but who like each other and who actually start an actual relationship if they're actually love interests for each other and not just have this game of playing catch all the time. It's so trite.
So, it's very cute. It's got a little bit of the Bones money in there. So, I will probably continue to check it out.
Cool.
What do you got?
My next maybe is Mayonaka Punch, which is a PA Works show. And it's about a YouTuber, YouTuber, called Masaki, who gets kicked from her content creator group, the Hype Sis, and gets subsequently cancelled in the comments when she tries to start a solo career. Until a couple of vampires get interested in her and help reigniting her career and taking revenge on her old teammates.
Hold on, vampires. Like actual real vampires.
You didn't see where that was going.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, the setup, of course, this is ridiculous, and it needs to be, because I think this is trying to be a biting satire on YouTuber culture. And at least that's what it comes across like now, because, in the beginning, all of these people are horrible. Like, Masaki, our main character, seems horrible. Her two friends, from before.
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah. Like, everybody is mean in the comments. Like, when Masaki is trying to start her solo career, or sees that her solo career probably isn't working, she's trying to recruit new people. And of course, only trolls, opportunists, and perverts show up, right? So it's going there. It's like, yeah, this is what this shit is, like this kind of quote-unquote industry. And some of that you, of course, also find over here, right? And, influencer culture and everything. And I hope it's gonna stay that, because that's what is fresh to me and that's fun to me. Like, if this show is planning to be a complete takedown of influencers and content creators, I am all there for it. But it also seems to be going for the typical uplifting anime. They're all in it for the passion, and they have a heart after all angle. At least at the end of the first episode, feels like it's also trying to put in that spirit, at least on Masaki's side of things, which would be okay, I get it, trying to be inspiring and whatever, and for the art, whatever, but it's still, with this setup, I feel that would be kind of lame. Yeah. I want it to be more of a sharp satire than actual, I don't know, uplifting work comedy or something like that. And most of what I've seen in this first episode was really fun, like the vampire life, or live, it's in Japanese they pronounce it live, I think, but I don't know if that's actually supposed to be or if it's supposed to be live. She slept for 20 years, so she has to get acquainted with the smartphones and shit like that now. And she has this little caretaker child vampire called Ichiko. And the funny thing is, not only is Masaki in a slump, financially as well, of course, but they are as well, because Ichiko did some bad stock trading.
Jesus, this gets worse and worse.
And of course, now they have people who are knocking at their door, so want their fucking money that she lent and whatever that she borrowed. So it's this is really funny setup, and the way Live is getting basically into or crossing over with Masaki eventually is she wakes up. Ichiko shows her smartphone because she's like, hey, that's how I learned about stock trading. I watched YouTube videos. And then Liv sees the recruitment video of Masaki, and immediately it's like, that girl is so fucking hot. I want to bite her neck. I need her. I want her so bad. Like, she's so horny for her. And then she's like, man... Then they run into each other when Masaki is in an old abandoned hospital trying to record a video because she did that in the past and she enjoyed it and whatever, and she's trying to make content out of it. And Liva is scavenging for blood reserves because she remembers this hospital still being active 20 years ago. And then they run into each other. Liva, of course, recognizes her as like, oh, I want that blood. And then, quick chase scene and so on, really well animated because this is a PA Works show, so of course it is. And then it all eventually leads to Masaki seeing the opportunity to create some truly unique videos with Liva's help, because she's a fucking vampire and she can fly and everything. And then she's asking her to star in her videos, and if they hit 1 million subs, Levi can make a meal off her, aka drink her blood. So that's the deal they have right now. They need to get those subs. They need to get those fucking subscriptions.
Said it before, I'll say it again. PA Works picks up some of the weirdest stuff, but they always throw themselves into it.
100%. Like, they're not pulling any punches in this first. Like, the comedy is on point. Like, I laughed a lot in this show, in this first episode. And, of course, animation quality, both in the one action scene that exists, but also in the, comedy bits and everything is very good. So, like, if you're in the mood for a very weird, at least seemingly edgy comedy that is tackling a maybe not as much tackled work environment in anime, I don't know how many YouTuber shows there are, and, makes a satire out of that, at least for now, give it a go, I would say, because this seems pretty promising. And, I had a lot of fun with it. And usually this is not my cup of tea, at least when it's done earnestly. Like, I couldn't stick with Shirobako. I rarely watched other work comedy stuff, and, cute girls doing cute stuff sometimes does something for me, but rarely. So, which makes this show more even-keeled, because, every one of us brings something different to the table, John, so that's why I appreciate that. You are into that stuff more than I am.
I mean, yeah, I don't always like to watch it just for the sake of that. That's true. Though. But you bring more variation with that particular genre as well, and show off some of the variety it can offer. While I'm always looking in from the side and like, well, this probably isn't for me, so I'm not going to check it out. And only the really, really even the really high points I haven't fully checked out, like Place Further Than the Universe, right? Which I definitely should. And that is that's a really bad thing on my part, like a really bad miss. I mean, I watched like the first couple of episodes, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wait until this finishes up. But, everyone says this fucking rocks, and why am I so hesitant? It's just, that is my particular genre where it's like, it needs to be something really special, and even if it is, I sometimes just forget to check it out. I think, which is you with certain shonen stuff. So I'm just a sucker for cute anime girls.
That's totally fine. A lot of people are, John. So otherwise, this industry wouldn't be alive anymore, probably.
True.
So there you go. But yeah, this one is definitely one that piqued my interest because it's got this special something, and I recommend all of you to check out the first episode and make a decision for yourself if that is something you might be interested in. And like I said, I hope it sticks with the satire angle and doesn't go too much into, hey, this is going to turn into an uplifting, hey, everybody become a YouTuber thing because it's so much fun. Because probably don't do that. John, what is your next maybe?
So we were talking about YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about VTuber Legend, how I went viral after forgetting to turn off my stream?
An adjacent topic?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, the story centers around this one VTuber girl named Awayuki Kokorone. And she, she's a very prim, very proper, that's the character she plays. And one night she says, oh, that's the end of the stream. Good night, everyone. And she forgets to end the stream. So what happens? Well, she throws back a couple of cold ones and starts gushing over the other girls in the company that she works for called Live On. And things sort of go a little sideways after that, because she gets a call in the morning from her manager that says, I need you to stay calm with what I'm about to say. End your stream right now. And she in that moment just loses it. She's been live the whole time. The hot mic is real.
Oh my god. So does that result into something bad or positive?
So while talking with her manager, the manager says to her, what took the mask so long to come off? Because I guess during the interview process, she was a little, a little unhinged, as they say. So now she gets to not play a character. She just gets to be her. So the next time she starts a stream, she starts taking questions from the viewers and says a lot of things that would probably be otherwise unbecoming of VTuber culture, like wildly so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how familiar you are with the term "say so," when that means, you're very pure, you're very, straightforward. This is a very unsay so show, mind you, because she talks about gooning for the other girls, and if you see a hot woman, you should rub one out. And I'm like, excuse me, what?
Interesting.
And my favorite thing about this is that Aoyuki is played by Ayane Sakura, and when she goes ham, she goes ham. So it's like, yeah, no, this was kind of a great casting choice. So, and she kind of goes from being like this down in the dumpster and no subscribers VTuber to like, oh, now everyone wants to see what she has to say about other stuff. And now the weirdo collaborations are going to start rolling in, and she gets to just be pissed drunk on camera all the time. And it's like, you're living the dream, honey.
I don't see how any of that can go wrong in the long run.
It's fine. Don't worry about it, maybe.
Mm. But it seems like you're very interested to see the train wreck unfold.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who has gotten deeper into VTuber culture than I would have thought over the past 3 years, this show speaks a little more directly to me than I would have thought. Mm-hmm. Of course, you can tell with the name of the show, it's based off of a light novel. But, and we've said this before, thank you for light novels that aren't isekais.
Yes.
I mean, I guess you could kind of make the argument because the main character is playing a character, but, truth is stranger than fiction, so it's fine.
She's not being transported to a different world. It's just like, it's something else entirely.
Like, it's not unheard of for there to be VTubers like this. I guess if you want this experience in RL, I would point you to Pipkin Pippa, because she is, boy, she is. But yeah, and it's not totally unheard of to have like a completely unhinged character like this as your Oshi, as it were, which we'll come back around to that word in a few minutes, actually. But yeah, I think this has the potential to just be stupid and fun. So, kind of lampooning again that truth is stranger than fiction. What do you got?
Well, sounds like fun. Speaking of stuff that is isekai, I broke my rule of trying to abstain from most isekai these days and watched Suicide Squad isekai.
Oh my god, dude. Jacob was asking the other night if you were going to watch that, and I had no idea.
Well, it exists, and it's what's on the nameplate. Like, we have Amanda Waller, the leader of your government institution, whatever, Task Force X, opens a portal to a fantasy world and sends the Suicide Squad in to establish a base. And it's your typical isekai fantasy world with dragons and every shit and goblins, and the first thing the guys do is kill a bunch of goblins. Because they messed with the wrong guys, and it's the usual setup. A couple of well-known DC villains, in this case Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Peacemaker, Clayface, and King Shark. Bombs in their necks, get detonated if they misbehave or are not in reach of the transmitter every 72 hours. And yeah, so they get just sent into this world and now find out what is going on, but also maybe they're not the only one. There is a rivaling faction probably, who is bonding with some other people, like making alliance with some other people already in the kingdom and in this world and whatever. So we'll see what that leads to. I only saw the first episode, and all the characters have their classic power sets, but their behavior has, of course, been anime-fied. Like, Clayface being the most extreme example, I would say he's very anime theatrical. You might know what I'm trying to say with that one.
Yeah, I mean, the image I have in my head is just of the version of him that was in the animated series.
No. Well, the character designs in this are super anime. Like, they're anime as fuck. It's not even like an interpretation. It's like downright complete anime-fication of these characters. And he is like this suave, well-dressed actor guy, because Clay Facet is an actor in the original comics, or at least in the animated series. But he's an anime actor, so he's like chuny as fuck, and he's like he's very excitable, and he's always doing like speeches and everything, and with a lot of bravado, which he absolutely is not in the animated series, for example. That's not the interpretation you're getting there, and he's the complete opposite of that. But he's fun, and of course the fights look good. It's a very well animated show because it's animated by Studio Wit of all studios.
Is it? It
is. So yeah, it looks really good. Like, you have in the beginning, you have a chase scene with Joker and Harley in a car, and looks fantastic. And yeah, it's very poppy, very colorful, very bright. Like I said, good action. The performances are fun. I'm watching it in Japanese, so I feel like maybe I should watch it in English. It feels like one of these shows where maybe I'm torn, because I'm like, property origin-wise, I feel like I should watch this in English. But since it's done by a Japanese studio, and the character designs are very anime, and the story is very anime, I should maybe watch it in Japanese? I don't know.
That is up to you.
Yes,
man.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, it feels like a Japanese is the right choice, especially because of the performances of certain characters, because it just feels too anime to watch it in English and not feel like this feels strange to me.
I mean, I don't know the English voice cast, but it would be fun if they brought in, some of the actual actors or voice actors, that have classically been there. Like, let John Cena be Peacemaker in it.
I did not look it up, considering what kind of money might behind this, because Warner Bros. Japan is also like producing this, of course, and everything. I don't know. Maybe some big names are in there. I didn't look it up, but if I ever review it, I will tell you about it. But yeah, so far, I don't know if the story is gonna go anywhere interesting. So far, it seems like just a fun rom with good action, and maybe that's enough for me. I don't know. It's just, I just took a look at this because I was like, hey, I know these characters, I like these characters, and this is an unusual setting, and an interesting spin for these DC Comics characters in particular. And if you would pick any of the more well-known franchise at this point, Suicide Squad makes the most sense. I mean, they did Batman Ninja a while ago, but that was a completely different AU take to a certain degree, I think. Although, did he just get transported as well? I think there was also an Isekai show, or at least a time travel show.
No, that's one of many things. You're going to yell at me again. One of many movies that I own physically and I still have not watched.
It's okay. It's like that you have watched it yet, but it's a fun movie. It's really fun. The only hang up maybe it being CG, but it's good CG. So yeah, it's that's a fun movie. That's still slightly different from what we're getting here. I feel like, at least in the beginning, things might get even more ludicrous down the road. But yeah, I liked what I saw. I had fun with it. I don't know if it will stay that way, so it's still a maybe. Like, if they don't do anything interesting with the story in this, then it might not be enough to keep me interested or hooked, and we'll see. But yeah, for now, it's just ludicrous that this exists with that fucking title, and that it's actually kind of fun and good for now. So we'll see. I wonder how many people are actually going to watch it. I don't know where it's even running. I must assume on Max or something.
Yeah, I think it says on the website Max and Hulu.
Okay, so there you go. So it will probably have enough viewers. But yeah, that's that. John, do you have another maybe, or are we ready to move into the keepers?
My last maybe is probably just going to be a keeper, but Shika noko 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 kosh tan tan. Shika noko 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 kosh tan tan. Shika noko 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 kosh tan tan. Shika noko 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 kosh tan tan.
Well done. Yes, that's also my last maybe / also kind of keeper, but not yet quite keeper, because dear God, I have no idea where this is going. So yeah, we'll see. John, what is this? What is this? What is this fucking show about, John? I don't know fucking know. What is it about, John?
My dear friend Nokotan is a show.
Yes, absolutely.
It's about this girl named Torako who used to be a delinquent, but she's gotten herself back on the straight and narrow. She's real nice to everyone. She's an honor student, straight A's,
very sparkly,
student council. But one day, walking to school, there's someone hanging from the power lines. Did they die? Did they commit suicide? Wait. She's hanging by her antlers. So this girl, as Tarako is walking away, says, "You'd really leave me up here, wouldn't you, Miss Delinquent?" Immediately, she knows. So what does she do? She makes her life a living tempest of chaos. Nokotan just is a deer elk girl, and chaos follows in her wake every step. This show is something.
It's
a lot.
I mean, we have watched some off-kilter comedies, some surreal stuff in this show. I've watched Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto, which definitely this feels like it's going for a similar vibe in terms of what is happening, why is this happening, why is this show, just why, and yeah, that's why. But I laughed so many times in this first episode because...
Which studio got to cook something weird with this one?
My God. Like, already, like, the very first scene where you have, like, this horrible-looking CG deer that is in this show for some reason with normally drawn characters and animated characters, and it's appearing in the weirdest scenes, and over again. And then you have Nokotan stuck in the power lines, and for some reason there are hyenas and vultures in this city who are trying to get her. And then after Torako saves her, and then she sits in class later, of course, the foreign exchange student that is being announced today is, of course, Nokotan. How could it be any other way? And everyone is reacting completely unfazed by Nokotan breaking the classroom door and wall with her horns when she's walking into the classroom, and people getting hit by the debris while the Shika march is menacingly played in the background. Shika. Only Torako has the appropriate reaction in that situation, I feel like. And the narrator is like fourth wall commenting that it's a common anime trope that the only free seat in the class is next to Torako, of course.
I mean, yeah.
Yes,
but...
it is. But usually the narrators don't comment on that. But so there's that. And then for some reason everyone is freaking out about Torako being a delinquent, but not about the deer girl. When that gets revealed, and then they have a freak out about whether or not she's a virgin? Yes, and the teacher squeezing 2 shards of shattered door glass out of her head in shock, and 2 deer suddenly standing in the doorway and also turning their heads in that scene. Fantastic. Like, that whole scene in the classroom, I couldn't stop laughing. It was so fucking surreal and stupid and funny and dumb. And there's so many more scenes in this first episode that make no sense, but also really funny, like Nokotan drooling like an actual waterfall. Yeah. With, again, that music playing.
And then slipping all over the place because of the drool.
Excellent face game also in this anime. Like, the faces are really good.
Oh my God. There's so much about this show. It's a lot.
It is absolutely a lot.
But I kind of love it.
Yeah, me too. Right now I do. The problem is I have absolutely no idea where they're going with this. Like, Torako gets roped into becoming the president of a deer club. Like, her main job apparently being to take care of Nokotan now. Like, brushing her hair. Okay. And
feeding her rice crackers. Speaking of, how about the ending sequence?
In the ending, we have live action footage of deer and the production of deer crackers. Sure.
I asked someone, a friend of mine, I was like, what is this show? And all I could say was an effort to boost tourism to the Nara prefecture. And all I could say was maybe?
Maybe. Yes, that could very well be the case. Incredible. That's all I could say about this. Like, it's incredible. Like, so many deer puns. And believe me, if we do a review, there will be a lot more. And, yeah. In the OP, that blink and you miss it moment where there is like you deer instead of you died, like the Dark Souls joke.
God! Oh my God, the first time I saw that, I just about, like, actually died.
Fantastic. So yeah, the sense of humor in the show is great. I have no idea where this is going, if this is gonna make sense at any time, if the joke's gonna stay that level of quality and surreal, non-sequitur goodness. We'll see.
The marketing has been genius, and the memes have been fresh, too.
Mm-hmm.
I showed you a couple of my favorites.
Yes.
Because before they purposely held back what the actual intro sequence was until the day it aired. And they put up this super long loop of Tadako dancing with pen lights in front of a deer with, the Shika Noko 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 Kosh Tan Tan playing. And it was like this super, I forget, it was an hour or 10-hour long loop, but people would take that and just like, they were just like, meme it, go for it, just have fun, everyone. Like, they know what they've got on their hands.
And for now it's working, so we'll see where this is going. I can see myself like completely getting absorbed by this, but also completely dropping off from it after a couple of episodes, because it's always the same joke and it gets less and less funny. We'll see. I have no idea. For now, it's just an avalanche of nonsense thrown in our faces, and I will see where this goes. It's really exciting. It's definitely the show of the season in more ways than one.
Oh, for sure.
But apparently, it's not your only maybe keeper. What else do you got? Because I don't have anything anymore.
Well, my other keepers are mostly just returning shows, so one I want to talk about a little bit more about, but the first one is NieR Automata version 1.1a Part 2 with the version numbers. Did you know that in the remaster of NieR Replicant, the version number in the title is the square root of 2? Now you know.
Well, I learned something today.
Like, because it's just a nonsense number, and then people did the math, and they're like, no, it's the square root of 2. Okay, all right. But yeah, this is a continuation of the adaptation of the game of the same name. They're still doing this weird thing where they're maybe trying to link it together with Gestalt/Replicant. It's not 100% clear how they're going about it, but they've had like sort of brief flashes to locations from the first game, and I wonder how they're going to like reconcile that, because there's nothing like that in Automata in the game proper. So,
but it's still the same universe, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
It's not clear.
Well, don't go too much into detail, because believe it or not, I still haven't played any of these games, so I plan to watch the anime once I've played through Replicant and Automata.
As far as I knew, Automata takes place way, 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 way in the future. Whereas Replicant and Gestalt only take place way into the future.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's like, and to be perfectly transparent, I still have not finished Replicant. I got to the end of the first half. Like, there is a clear cutoff between the two halves of the game, and I got to the end of the first half, and I need to eventually get back to it. Like, I don't know if I know I said this to you and the others. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but before the Yorha Dark Apocalypse Alliance raids released in FF14 Shadowbringers, I sort of was like, okay, I want to sit down and play Automata. And I did, thinking, oh, it's an action game. It'll be a quick 20 hours. I put 70 hours into that game, getting every single achievement, and I would do it all over again because that game is fantastic.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just curious. There's other weird wrinkles to the plot as well, where it's like, I'm sort of watching like, I don't think I remember things happening quite like that. What are you guys cooking? What are you doing? So, want to see more of where it goes and the more of their interpretation of the events of the game. And it's still very pretty. It's still handled by A1. So
nice.
And then my last keeper is the return of Oshi no Ko. This centers around the Tokyo Blade arc, which is the characters are all taking part in the stage play adaptation of this manga of the same name. And, they've had their rehearsals so far and this, that, and the other thing. And everything's going great until the original creator of the manga comes in and she's like, hey, y'all are working really hard, but can we revise the script? Oh, yeah, sure. What part? All of it.
Oh, no.
And that sets off a big firestorm because the manga creator, this girl, Abiko Sensei, has a lot of choice words about the script writer, and it's like, I feel real bad for the script writer, but also, it's one thing to want to see your creation get done its due justice, so it's hard to say one side is wrong, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and, that's that, and this is still in the service of Aqua trying to worm his way up the ladder of trying to make connections to find out, who was the murderer of his mother. It's, still really weird to say that considering he was not isekai, but resekai?
Yeah. But I was about to ask how does this still connect to the overarching mystery, but now I know. So that's good that they haven't forgotten about that, because that seemed like the most enticing aspect of this weird story.
Yeah. So that is definitely the through line on this. I also have to say, it's really weird watching this in the same season as Nokotan, and that's because Kana in Oshinoko and Nokotan are both played by the same girl, Megumi Han. Mm-hmm. So hearing that switch flip back and forth, it's like, oh God, what is happening in my brain? But yes.
Please watch all of them back to back so you get maximum confused.
Yes. Oh my. Oh. I really enjoyed the first season of Oshinoko. Like, I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it. And so I'm here to see where it goes beyond this. I'm curious about, what happens with the stage play, how this furthers the mystery, and, everything else surrounding that. So definitely a keeper. And it still looks just as good as the first season. Doga Kobo is doing great work. The new opening sequence is hot. It's a really good one. I don't know whether or not I'd say it like, I don't know whether or not to say I like it more or less than the Yoasobi song from the first season. Ooh, it's a tough call, but there's a lot to really, I think, enjoy about this, and I'm really looking forward to more of it.
Cool.
That's that.
All right, then we're done with the sneak peek. Not that many shows this time around that are absolute super keepers, at least not for me, but John got a couple. So we'll see what this results into for our review, for our reviews for next season. But also there are some shows that are still running on my end, like Slime Time and Hero Academia, though these might be quick time. These might be Queen the Dead reviews, so we'll see. But yeah, with that done, let's move on over to the first review of this review season. Alright, yeah, back to Demon Slayer. Getting close to the end here, guys. This is the... God, is it the penultimate arc? So we're talking about the Hashira Training Arc. Mm-hmm. Which is the new season. The 4th? The 5th? The fourth, technically, right? Because
yeah, I mean, I guess it's the fifth, but it's also the fourth, depending on how you get.
yeah, that's why since they've been naming the seasons after arcs, it's not really clear where they make the distinction between seasons, because the Mugen Train arc, the Demon Train arc, and the Entertainment District arc were technically both season 2 because it was a 2-course show. But you could also say they're their respective season because there was a break between it. So who fucking knows? But yeah,
I mean, in some of the arcs are broken down into sub arcs. Like the first one is the Unwavering Resolve arc, which is broken down into Final Selection, Kidnapper's Bog, Asakusa, Tsuzumi Mansion, Mountain Natagumo, and Rehabilitation Training. But the next arc after this, again, is broken down into sub arcs. But we have the final battle arc with the Infinity Castle and Sunrise Countdown after this. So we're coming up on the end.
And I would assume that it sounds like they're going to turn all of these into movies first, because we're going to get a movie trilogy that at least covers the Infinite Castle arc, depending on how they plan to name the anime adaptations. Like, maybe all 3 movies will be Infinite Castle arc part 1, 2, and 3, or they will switch to Sunrise arc or whatever after that. So we'll see. But yeah, this is the last smaller arc before shit hits the fan, and it hits the fan already at the end of this particular season.
I mean, apparently going off of chapters, the Infinity Castle arc is like the longest one.
So it's probably just going to be this 3 movies, and maybe something else is going to come after that?
I guess. I mean, it's 44 chapters, which the next longest arc is... Hold on, I'm looking through this real quick. The next longest one is the Entertainment District arc at 31. So...
Well, that only was 1 quarter of a season, so...
Yeah, so, I mean, I know we've said this before about the show, but they have been good about keeping things moving at a very brisk pace.
Yes.
So,
despite some of our misgivings about some parts of this being maybe too standard, at least in the beginning, I feel like the show gotten better about this. Over time, this arc maybe being the exception, because it feels like it's going back a bit on going to really, training arcs are standard stuff in Battle Shonen series, pretty much like the tournaments are. But aside from that, I was never bored with this show. Like, I always was entertained to a degree, and so I liked some parts more than others. The Entertainment District arc was definitely one of the highlights for me, and definitely the Sword Village arc after that. Might be my favorite season so far. Like, these 2 probably. Like, that batch of episodes, like Entertainment District, and then that one. I mean, I also like Demon Train arc. I liked all of these to an extent, but I feel like those, did things that I really enjoyed, maybe. At least in retrospect. Might have phrased it a bit differently in our reviews of these, but just thinking of, hey, okay, maybe Zenitsu wasn't as annoying in that arc. In that arc, he wasn't even there, so that's great. So that's a big qualifier. But
he wasn't around quite as much as I would have thought this time.
Yeah, I also liked that. Every time he was around, I was incredibly annoyed by him, but he is not there in that many episodes. And it seems like they're going to do something interesting with him in the movies coming up, like in the next arc, because they're playing a bit like coy. There's like, he gets a message at the end of this, pretty much at the end, and then he seems to have a separate mission, and we don't know what that is. We don't know if he's maybe a traitor for some reason, right? If he got recruited by the demons or whatever, or if he got a separate mission from the which is what I assume, that he got a separate mission from Ubuyashiki to do something, whatever that is. And we'll see. So that's interesting. They're finally doing something interesting with him. I mean, he had some good parts in the Entertainment District arc, when he was undercover in the brothel and everything. So that was pretty cool. He had some good stuff there. But aside from that, he's just the character I'm least interested in. So it's nice that they do something where like, oh, okay, we'll see where this is going. So, yeah. But maybe we should start with how the show is starting. So this is picking up immediately after the Swordsmith Village arc. Our character's still recovering from the tough fights there, and now gearing up because Nezuko got revealed as the legendary or a legendary, whatever. It has never happened before, I think, a demon that can walk in the sun. She's a daywalker, like Blade. And Muzan wants that power. And the Demon Slayer Corps is aware of that, so they plan to set up a trap, or at least they want to prepare for the final battle, because they must assume that Muzan will collect her, will try to abduct Nezuko. Because he needs her either as an ingredient, or who knows, to make himself immortal, make himself invulnerable to the sun, because at this point this is kind of his only vulnerability, and he wants to eradicate that because he wants to be immortal, he wants to live forever for whatever reason. And so, yes, the Demon Slayer Corps is aware of that, so they're doing big trainings, getting all the cadets up to speed, especially Tanjiro, of course, because he's the most promising prospect and everything, to prepare for this final battle. And this is most of what this arc revolves around. We have Tanjiro going through, not every episode, but every episode tackles like a different member of the Hashira, like the big Demon Slayer guys. And we learn a bit about them. I mean, some of them we already got to know. Kanroji and Tokito in the previous season, and we definitely learned something about them. I feel like Tokito got the more substantial stuff there. But yeah, so we got, but don't know as much about the some of the others yet. So we get to know them a bit more in this season. Not all of them super well. Like we learned something, of course, about the Snake Hashira, the Wind Hashira being the brother of Genya, who we learned something about in the previous season, and also about his relation to his brother. That gets a bit extended on in this season, and his brother is still an asshole. And yeah, and then we learn about the Stone Hashira as well, who also has an interesting connection to the leader of the clan, to Ubuyashiki and everything. And yeah, I feel some of them get more screen time than others and get some more interesting development than others. But this is what most of the episodes until the final two maybe, come up, where things start to hit the fan. And I don't know how you felt about the actual training arc, John. I felt it was a bit patty, like it felt a bit like padding.
I get that, but after we've been moving 100 miles an hour, yes. I kind of like that this was like, okay.
Yes, sure. I mean,
let's slow down a little bit.
You're right.
Just for a minute.
It's good that we have a breather between, because now we can expect like the next couple of movies and how many ever episodes those get turned into in the TV version to be just a complete action blast. So yeah, and we have action in this, don't get me wrong. Like there's action in the training sequences, but this is mostly focused on getting to know some more of these characters, and also having Tanjiro growing into new roles, like learning to do other things in battle, like learning how to fight more as a unit, learning more to, I don't know, to fulfill a leader role. That is at least the first training section. Is it Usui who does this? Yeah, so that's interesting, and he has to face different battle situations, and has to overcome the different styles of all the different Hashira. Like the Snake Hashira has like this very weird training section where he creates like this very narrow training environment for Tanjiro, where he has to be really careful not to hit his teammates, because, you know, some other people might be in the battle, and the demons might use them as hostages, so he needs to know how to fight them without hurting his teammates and whatever. And that's what he learns with the Snake Hashira and whatever. So that's interesting. Like, we have different battle scenarios, and some of those also include some character development. I feel like maybe some of the strongest things we see are definitely with him and Tomioka. Those are good. And yeah, outside of that, we get a bit of surface level of some of the other characters. Like, I feel we learn less in this about Shinazugawa, you know, the other Shinazugawa brother, who is the brother of Genya, like I mentioned before, than we learned about him in the previous season. When
I mean, he's just kind of there to yell and scream at his brother.
I mean, he tries to endear himself to me by knocking Zenitsu out with a hard neck chop.
Yeah.
But, it's too bad he's also still an asshole, especially to his brother. I know he's being so harsh because he wants to protect Genya by getting him to quit the core, but there's got to be a better way. Like, when we got to learn about Genya in the previous season, that was evident that his brother is doing that to protect Genya. But the way he goes about this is just so wrong-headed.
I feel like all of the interactions with all of the other Hashira were a lot more... What's the word I'm looking for? Not interesting.
Substantial, maybe?
Yeah, more substantial. More...
You felt like Tanjiro got something out of their training sessions, right? With each of them. It didn't feel like that necessarily with Shinazugawa.
Yeah, like
feel like there was
more.
Sorry.
I think there's a bit more to empathize and get invested with them because they showed them more than just the one side of them. Like even Iguro, he turned out to be not such a jerk. He's doing what he's doing to toughen up the Demon Slayer core, and we get to sort of see that at least in his head a little bit. Whereas Shinazugawa, he's just like. Okay, dude. All right, sure. Like we get it, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, I loved his exchange with Tanjiro. Like Tanjiro saying, "Looking forward to training under you," and then Shinazugawa saying, "Haven't accepted you yet," and Tanjiro responding with, "That doesn't bother me at all. I'm not accepting you either, since you stabbed my sister, you little bitch."
Yes,
I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it came down to, and Tanjiro's the king. I mean, there's a reason why he's the main character in this, and so that was really, really cool, like, having this really smug expression on his face while he's saying that, and that killed me. I loved that, and he really pissed Shinazugawa off with that, because he didn't expect such disrespect from him. But, Tanjiro can always back it up, usually, so that's really fun. I enjoyed that part of that particular interaction, or that part of the arc of that training session. But yeah, you're right. It felt like outside of that, all the other things had something where Tanjiro really learned something from the other Hashira, and also at the same time, through their interaction with him, got them a bit closer to their students. Like making the students realize that the Hashira are not just like this super brutal, untouchable training gods or fighting gods, but that they're actually people behind this curtain. So, and I feel like a lot of that was a lot of these realizations by the other, kind of faceless demon Slayer Corps members was or trainees. The catalyst for that was mostly Tanjiro, because he trained together with them, and he was the one who sought out the interaction, the actual interaction and connection with their teachers, with the Hashira. That was interesting, and we didn't get that with Shinazugawa, I think. Yeah, we can go through them one by one. In the beginning, like we have like this a bit of extension on what might be the origin of Tanjiro and his powers and everything, and what is actually fueling the Demon Slayer Corps in terms of, or at least the Hashira in terms of power sets, like the breathing techniques and everything. Like in their fights from the previous season, Kanroji and Wichiro Tokito had the marks of the first breathing techniques appear on them, which until now only appeared on Tanjiro, and because Kanroji is a Tanjiro type, I ship it. I mean, their names are basically the same with some letters moved to different places.
God.
She can't explain why this happens very well, but Muichiro says it was because he exceeded a certain number of heartbeats per minute and body temperature. I don't know if that was... It's really just that, and if, like, down the road, they're maybe going to reveal, no, it's actually... There's a psychological component to it as well. For now, they're sticking with that. It's like about heartbeats per minute, and, Kanroji has also some doubts about this. So if the show even has one character doubt this, I was like, okay, maybe there's a wrinkle to this. Like, how can they all of them activate the first breathing technique, which they probably have to do to beat the final set of demons, right? So it's interesting. So we have some other development for other characters. Nezuko is getting better at speaking, which makes it all the more regretful that she is not in this season at all.
Yeah. I was surprised by that.
Just when you finally give that character with no agency besides of I'm gonna protect my brother. I can't verbalize my thoughts. I have to do it through gestures and everything. And we don't look into her head or anything to hear her thoughts. Just when you give that character a voice, you cut her out completely off the show. God damn it.
I think she was in like one scene, wasn't she?
At the very beginning when we hear her talk to some people. And it's like, oh, now she's gotten better. She can speak now and she's gotten better at it. I think it's like the first episode or maybe some bits in the first 2 episodes. And that's it. After that, it's only, a gang of 3 and the Hashira. Like, what? Also, why can't she be in the training sessions? Why can't she could fight before? And now maybe they are afraid that the Hashira will just kill her, but I don't know, they never say that. And it's just so weird because she's a powerhouse, she's a good fighter. Now she doesn't have to hide in a box anymore. She can just walk in the sun. So why would you not, put her into the training, so make her part of the, have her and her brother together interact with the Hashira to make the Hashira overcome their prejudices, especially that would have been something you could have put into the stuff with into the part with Shinazugawa, because he seems to be the most diehard asshole, narrow-minded piece of shit here, and she could have been the one together with her brother, who maybe pulled him back from that a bit and made him look at things differently. That would have been really interesting, but instead they just completely abandoned her. I was not super happy with that. And I was wondering, why would you do this? Stop treating this character so badly. It's amazing. Every time I think, well, okay, now they're going to do something interesting with her. And completely go the complete opposite way. She's really just a plot vehicle, and that's the meaning. And I don't know. That really sucked. I mean, I got over it pretty quickly, but when I realized that she wasn't coming back, it's okay. And we don't know where she is right now, right? We expected Muzan to get her at the end and then disappear, and that being the catalyst for all the Demon Slayer going after him. But we don't even know where she is. Did he already get his hands on her? Probably not. Did someone else?
I wonder if the implication is that she's just hanging out with Tamayo while Tamayo's doing her research, and who knows where they are. I don't.
I mean, Tamayo has a different role in this as well, and that's why she is here, and we'll get to that because that gets revealed in the final episode of this season. But
that's true, that's right.
But, maybe she's also there because of her, but we don't really see them interact much either, and it's hey, where's Nezuko? What is happening? I mean, maybe
Shut up, she's around.
Yeah, maybe they want to keep that a mystery to keep the tension high. See, oh god, did the demons already get her? Because it's not like Muzan is the only demon still alive, right? He still has some lieutenants left. So maybe one of them got to her, and that's going to get revealed in the upcoming movies and everything. But it doesn't feel like he did, because I would imagine if he did, he would have already gloated about it to Ubuyashiki. And he didn't do that. And Muzan lost to gloat. I feel like he feels like that kind of character who would do that. So, I don't know. It just felt super weird that she couldn't be in the training session and whatever. And it's just okay, just do something interesting with her. You just turned it around. You just gave her a voice, and now you're gonna sideline her completely. Whatever. So I hope
that's how it is. I guess it's not great, but
I hope she will have an important part to play in the upcoming movies, whatever, in the upcoming arcs outside of being the damsel in distress. I really hope so, because that would suck if she was just going to be a damsel. If she was just going to be a damsel, that would be horrible. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that was one of the wrinkles in this season where it's man, the other wrinkle being Zenitsu, of course, who was immediately getting on my nerves. But yeah. Then Tanjiro finally gets his new shiny sword. Hagane Izuka even put the cool Fireblade guard from Kyojuro's sword on it. Cool, it's a nice payoff from the previous season, I feel like. We have some nice interactions in this and later with his brother, in the arc, little mini part with his brother, with Genya and Tanjiro Genya only wants peace and quiet and instead has to deal with both Zenitsu and Inosuke paying Tanjiro a visit one after another when they're trying to recover. I felt so sorry for him. He doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve his shitty brother, and he didn't deserve that. But yeah, Uyashiki invites Tamayo, which, have we seen Tamayo again before this, after season 1?
Don't think we have.
So that was nice. It was like, oh, she's still alive. She's still important, I guess. And she invites her to his mansion to join forces with the Demon Slayer Corps for investigating Nezuko's current state and other things, even though she herself is a demon, which is probably unheard of, I guess. I mean, they now have Nezuko there, so maybe not. But that was an interesting setup in the beginning. I was like, oh, I wonder if when that is gonna come back. And it comes back in a big way. But yeah, the first training session that they're doing, or that Tanjiro is trying to do, is he is attempting to get Gyu Tomioka, the guy who basically got him into the Demon Slayer Corps, to train him and open up to him by pestering the shit out of him. A valid approach, I guess. So the interesting bits about Tomioka we didn't know about yet, which were teased with, some random scenes and everything before, is that he apparently never passed the final test to become the Water Hashira. So he wanted Tanjiro to become it instead. But Tanjiro changed breathing techniques, so Tomioka is a bit upset with him. And in the beginning, Tanjiro is trying to figure out why Tomioka is upset with him. He's like, what? What did I do? So technically Tomioka passed the selection, but he didn't kill a single demon and only survived because his friend Sabito saved him. And Sabito eventually was the only one who died in the selection, so of course Tomioka feels guilty. He passed, and his friend didn't and died. And he feels unworthy of the title of Water Hashira. And we've met Sabito before, right? Like, Tanjiro saw a vision of him when he was doing that training with the water breathing technique, when he sliced that rock.
That's right.
The first season. Sabito was wearing that fox mask or whatever. So, yeah. That now we know who that was, because I had already forgotten about that. But in the first season, like, who's that? Will we ever learn this? No, we do. So that's nice that they're actually bringing back a lot of shit from the first season, where that was still like having a bit of an open end there, a loose thread, and are like, no, that is actually what that was. And that makes it even more feel like, okay, we're gearing up for the finale, guys, because we're wrapping up all of this. And I like when shows don't forget about that stuff.
That's a nice little bonus, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's like, oh, no, the mangaka was actually thinking while writing this. So that's nice. Taking notes. I feel like Oda is still the king of that, where it's like to a ludicrous amount, where it's like, how did you remember? How did you bring that little shit from one episode, like in the first 10 episodes of the show or whatever? One Piece is crazy. Anyway, so Tanjiro can empathize with Tomioka's feelings, about his friends and everything. He knows what it's like to wish for yourself having died instead of a friend or family who protected you. Like, he had the same experience again, like I said, with his family, but also with Rengoku, right, in the Mugen Train arc. So he reminds Tomioka that it's his responsibility to pass on his friend's legacy, which reminds Tomioka of a conversation he had with Sabito about that exact topic. I think Tomioka said he wished he died instead of his big sister, who hid him from demons and died instead. And Sabito smacked the shit out of him for insulting her memory like that. And that memory snaps Tomioka out of his funk, and he's like, okay, I'm going to train you, whatever, Tanjiro. And also, I'm not going to be mad at you anymore for not wanting to become the Water Hashira or whatever. So, because technically, Tanjiro is now the new Fire Hashira after taking up the mantle of Rengoku, I guess. So yeah, that was really interesting. That was one of the definitely better interactions where we got to look, because Tomioka up at this point, I mean, he had a lot of screen time in the first season, I guess, but we didn't really learn that much about him and his background. And now we do, and that was really neat and definitely one of the more substantial bits in terms of character development in this season. And then we get next a training session with Uzui, which is very hard, but Tanjiro is very motivated. We have a kick-ass group battle where Tanjiro has to learn to look out and protect his weaker teammates and everything. And we don't learn any additional stuff about Uzui. I mean, we learned some stuff about him in the Entertainment District arc, but it was like, okay, that is fine, I guess. Guess we're not gonna go much more into that. So this was mainly about Tanjiro advancing through that combat and learning some new things and some new ways how to fight. You know, in the beginning, I thought the training arc would be more about Tanjiro having to overcome specific trials set for him by each of the Hashira, but it is definitely that. But in parts, it's less about him gaining more physical strength, except for the final training session with the Stone Hashira, but instead honing his leadership skills and empathy. And like I said, he breaks down the barriers between the Hashira and the cadets and naturally inspires people to do better. There's like this airplane throwing contest with Tokito, which is a good example of this, where everyone is kind of afraid of Tokito because he's got this very cold demeanor, you know, very matter-of-factly. And it's like, hey, if you can't cut it, just get out of here, right? But then at the end of that particular part, after they're done with the training, they have like this airplane throwing contest with all of the cadets and Tokito, and everyone gets excited and invested, and everyone's like, oh, okay, Michiru/Tokito, whatever, if you want to go by first or last name, actually becomes a person the other cadets can feel like they can relate to and feels more like a human than before. And that's because Tanjiro made it happen. He was the mediator between those two parties. So that was cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cute scene.
Yes, absolutely. And then we get kind of a nothing training section with Kanroji, sadly. I mean, we learned something about her in the previous season, so I guess there's that, although that wasn't super substantial, but she teaches splits the rough way. But that's kind of it. Like, I don't know how much time do we even spend with her? It's like 5 minutes or something at max, right?
Like, for that sounds about right. I was going to say maybe half an episode, but not even, I don't think.
I mean, that it fuels the next training arc in a way as that it makes harbor Iguro some anger towards Tanjiro because Iguro is really into Kanroji and is super jealous that she had so much fun training with Tanjiro. So there's that. So he's especially hard on Tanjiro in the training section. So I guess that was an interesting part. But we don't really learn much about him either. Like he has a crush on Kanroji, obviously, apparently. And he has like this interesting rivalship with Shinazugawa, but outside of them, I don't feel we learn that much about Iguro. Do we? Did I forget something?
Not really, but he's at least a bit more. He's not quite the same level of jerk that Shinazugawa.
Oh, absolutely not. No. It feels like he's warming up a bit by the end, and he's training something valuable. Like you have to be really careful, in when you fight this way and this way, just so you don't hurt your teammates or whatever. Or, I mean, his methods are shitty because he just ties up some of the cadets and and makes has them being training dummies or whatever. So, but it's for a good cause, I guess. But yeah, then we also already get to the penultimate training session. Which is the Shinazugawa stuff, and that is also over pretty quickly. I feel like the most interesting part of that was still the sections where Genya was involved, and I'm really glad to see that Tanjiro and Genya became such good friends. Like, their interaction are really heartfelt, and I didn't expect that when they first encountered each other in the training exam and whatever that in the exam on the mountain, and then in the last season when they finally got to know each other properly in the fight against the two upper echelon demons. But no, they seem to get along really well. Like, they have dinners together and stuff like that, and everyone is taking turns cooking and whatever, and it's like every time they have a scene together, it's a super cozy atmosphere. It's like, hey, I didn't expect that to happen, but they seem to get along really well. I mean, how can you not get along well with Tanjiro? But still, it's like,
yeah, they're just buds.
Yeah, Genya didn't strike me as he seemed so So I don't know. In the beginning he seemed as brash and cold as his brother, but no, he's such a good guy, and he's really nice, and he cares for Tanjiro and everything, and I really like that. I want him to be happy, and finally his brother to get along with him and not being such a dick anymore, because Genya is a cool guy. So yeah, but like I said, was really glad to see that, and yeah, we're rushing through these training sessions. The final one is the Stone Hashira, and his backstory is harsh. He took care of some children as a priest, and then one of the children got cornered by a demon and led them to the orphanage, and then the demon killed everyone, and due to circumstances, the Stone Hashira, I even forgot his name, Gyome got blamed for it, and that was really... You would imagine the experience he had that he would be totally disillusioned and, you know, put off by people and would just completely exclude himself or whatever. And maybe he did for a while, but Ubuyashiki kind of got him to become a Hashira and make use of his powers, even though Yome saw himself as a monster from that point as well. And Tanjiro's like selflessness, courage, and honesty makes this Stone Hashira trust him and feel like, oh no, there are actually people still out there who are genuinely good people and who won't betray you and stab you in the back. So that was like their little character arc. It's only like half an episode or something where we learn all of that stuff, I think, or maybe, something, or 2/3.
Yeah, about that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we got to know the most about Gyome compared to the rest of the Hashira, but, you know.
Yeah, I feel like Gyome and Tomioka got the brunt of the interesting character development here in this season. Everyone else was more on the sidelines a bit, like pieces here and there, but some of them already got some development in the previous season, but some of them also just were there. And hey, they might still get some, you know, we still might get Iguro and Shinazugawa in the movies. You know, I can see Shinazugawa and Genya having a tag battle against one of the demons, right? And then there's some brotherly interaction and whatever, and we get some actual development there.
That'd be awesome. I hope so.
Yeah, I can see it happening. So, yeah, we'll see. Then we're already at the end of this season, and then just shit goes wild, because suddenly in the final minutes of the penultimate episode, Muzan appears, mist appears in the Ubuyashiki, around the Ubuyashiki mansion or estate, and Muzan just slowly works into Ubuyashiki's compound over the ED theme, and that moment is just dripping with tension. And finally, that's the moment the ED was leading up to. That's what it was meant to be played along with. That particular scene, which did we see in the ED before, where he was just, you know, scenes of Muzan just walking? I don't remember.
I don't believe so.
No, right? But that's definitely what this is for. And if you look at the lyrics, of course, yeah, it makes sense. So that was really cool. And that's how that ends. And then, you know, you have a small interaction between Ubuyashiki and Muzan, and then, you know, we get to the final episode. And Ubuyashiki at this point is close to death. He's bedridden. He's super sick, and he's being taken care of by his wife. But Muzan apparently still wants to have a talk with him, and he mocks Ubuyashiki, you know, for being bedridden and being a disappointment and being disgusting and looking frail and everything, you know, because Muzan is a very superficial person. And he's just throwing that at him and being like,
I gotta be honest, and I think Ubuyashiki says the same thing. I'm amazed Muzan let him talk as long as he did.
I mean, they've never met each other, but they had this long-standing rivalship. So I guess Muzan was wallowing in the fact that Ubuyashiki looked so frail and beaten to him, because it's like, oh, this guy is already dead. I won, right? That's what and it's like, so I'm just gonna enjoy this a bit more. I'm just gonna listen to his drivel and give him the time of the day because it amuses me. And I've won already anyway, because what can he do in this state? There's nothing. Like, the core is done. They can't be without his master, and look at this frail, almost dead body. And this is just pastime entertainment for me. And I'm unbeatable. I think he's just being an arrogant bitch, and which he has been since the beginning. And he's just loving the shit out of this. Which, of course, is, well, kind of his demise, but also not really. But he's made some slight miscalculations. But yeah, so in the face of all of this, Ubuyashiki remains steadfast, despite his body barely being alive, because he's the head of the Demon Slayer Corps, and he has a mission and dedication. So, Ubuyashiki's bloodline was cursed, as we learn, or at least that's his point of view. That's his interpretation of the whole thing. His bloodline was cursed because they produced a demon as vile as Muzan, because Muzan is from his bloodline very much in the past, but still his bloodline. So, and after that, all the children that were born into their family were frail and died very early. So, killing Muzan is not as selfless of a motivation as I thought for Ubuyashiki. Like, it was like, if he was always a mystery to us, but it felt like, oh no, he might have his own motivation, but he's probably doing this for the betterment of the world, to save the world or whatever. But no, this is much more a personal motivation thing going on here.
It is a vendetta.
It is absolutely a vendetta. Like a very heartfelt, deep-rooted vendetta. Muzan also mocks that idea, saying, well, I wasn't cursed at all, despite killing all those people. Well, that's a matter of perspective, buddy. Like, you could consider being a demon also a curse, but you just don't see it that way because you're a monster. Like, you're an evil, evil piece of shit. They have, like, this nice dialogue, and that was the best part of this season, even. Like, what comes after this is also fantastic, but, like, their interaction, finally having the heads of these two different factions coming to encounter each other and having just a conversation about their different viewpoints of this whole conflict was just, never expected this to happen, and I loved it. I was like, oh yeah, it's dripping with tension. The soundtrack is going apeshit at several points during this. First it's like this dripping tension, and then a big thing happened, and it just goes into full orchestra blowout, like Yuki Kajiura, just madwoman.
There is something to be said for just talking.
Yes. If it's really well-written dialogue and the presentation is not just them talking to each other, but doing some interesting stuff with the camera and the perspective, and then you have the great music and everything, and great facial animation. It's just, this scene is just pure tension, and you just glued to the screen, because it's just this setup that you didn't expect, but that is really, really enticing and gripping. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I loved it. And Ubuyashiki basically saying that Muzan's idea of eternity is fake, and that the human will is actually what is eternal, because Muzan wants to be eternal. He wants to be immortal. And he says, like, can't be hurt anymore once I have Nezuko's power, blah, 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 right? And none of you can touch me wherever. And then Ubuyashiki is like, no, this is the wrong approach. This is fake eternity. This is not what real immortality is about. Real immortality is about the human will to inherit that to the next generation, and that is what actually makes you and everyone who inherits your will eternal. And you have this really strong image of Ubuyashiki in front of all the graves of the demon slayers who have fallen in dedication to their mission, lighted with candles and everything, I think. And it just looks so cool. And he's basically saying, buddy, it doesn't matter if you kill me here tonight. I'm almost already dead. But all my pupils, all the people who are my extended family now, they will never forgive you. And all the people who came before me will never forgive you. Like, their will is so strong, it will continue on.
There will be a reckoning.
Yes, it has been so strong over 1,000 years that it has been deeply ingrained in the legacy of my family. And no matter what happens here tonight, you will never be free, since there will always be someone to hunt you down. And that powerful will has given birth to a generation of slayers that will probably end you for good this time. And while our will persists over generations for all eternity, no matter who of us lives or dies, your empire will completely crumble once we dispose of you. You will leave literally nothing behind. And that's just good stuff, man. That is... it's so tasty. It's just so... it feels like, oh my god, he's almost dead, but he's just wiping the floor with Muzan just on a fucking contextual dialogue level. It's just so good. And then we get the literal Big Bang, because apparently...
By the way, I talked it over with my wife and kids, and flip them off on the way out the door.
Yeah, we made a decision. So Ubuyashiki is apparently such a... Yeah, but he harbored such a huge amount of hatred for Muzan that he was willing to blow up himself and his family in a giant explosion just to stall Muzan's regeneration powers enough for Tamayo and the Hashira to take him out for good. Like, he always seemed so loving and considerate, but that man turned out to be an absolute rage-filled mad lad.
I mean, he redirected it in the right ways.
Yes, sure. And, well, we'll see how much good that actually did in the long run. It got the Demon Slayers enough time to arrive on the scene, and we have probably the best-looking CG explosion in anime, John.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this UFO table going all out. It's ridiculous. Like, that scene looked so fucking good.
The impact of the slow motion when it starts off was like, oh
yes.
My God.
Yes, it looks really like... when you finally realize what is actually happening and just, slowly the fire is crawling up from the ground and everything.
I'm going to be real with you. First I was watching it, I was like, oh God, Muzan just blew him all up. Wait, no he did. Oh!
Just getting fucking blasted out of the building as a fucking charred corpse. And he immediately realizes, oh fuck, this is not over. He still has a trap leg for me. Like, he's really scared. That's so amazing. It's like getting Muzan so off his game by this insane trap that he laid. And the soundtrack is going fucking nuts in the scene, especially now. We got Tamayo and Gyome who enter the scene and further restrict and harm Muzan. Like, he regenerates, but realizes it's not over yet. And then I think the order is Tamayo traps him in like some kind of thorn magic, whatever, right? Thorn demon skills. And then Gyome comes in and just cuts off his head, right? Like with this giant morning star thing or whatever he has.
Able to go unnoticed because they have some talismans that make demons blind to them.
Yes. And it's so cool. It's like, oh no, this was all planned by Ubuyashiki in the background. And, we got teases where it's like, okay, why? Before that was like, there's something going on in the background here. We can't be quite sure yet. And we get a couple more scenes that elaborate on that in this episode as well. But intentionally, Ubuyashiki didn't fill in all of the Hashira into his plans. It's like, the more people know about the more this can go wrong and everything, and he would assume that they were spied on and stuff like that. So he had a couple of well-trusted people, and one Muzan could never expect, because how would he expect Tamayo to be there, like in the stronghold of the Demon Slayer Corps? So you got her, and Tamayo is a person who has a similar strong grudge against Muzan, because she holds him responsible for turning her into a demon and then killing a lot of people because she couldn't contain her bloodlust. She blames herself as well, but she also blames Muzan. He's like, I'm just gonna take us both out because you made me into a monster, so the best thing I can do is delete you from this world. Great scene, man! And like I said, the soundtrack at that moment when she just jams her fist into it is so fucking good. And then, his head gets blasted off. The problem is Muzan won't die when he is beheaded because he's the strongest demon. Only the sun can kill him. So the Slayers have to fight him until sunrise. And then it's revealed that Muzan set up a trap of his own and teleports every single demon slayer to his infinite castle, where he plans to eradicate all of them on his home turf. And this is where the season ends.
God, the scene where everyone's just tumbling into the castle, man. They go so ham. with those scenes inside the castle ever since they first started showing it.
Yeah, I wonder how crazy in a, three-dimensional perspective the battles are gonna get in the Infinite Castle.
Yeah.
I can see some really wild shit happening, right? With platforms appearing, gravity shifting.
Especially since it seems like Muzan can just control it at will.
Yes. I wonder if some of his lieutenants can as well. So, man, what a cliffhanger. This is a really, really good setup. It gets you really excited for the stuff that's coming up. And, you weren't hearing much buzz about this season before the finale hit. But when that finale hit, everything was ablaze. Demon Slayer trending, whatever, everywhere. And it was like, holy shit, this looks so good. Ufotable are the best. And oh my god, well, this is so crazy. And Obuyashiki, what the fuck? And it was really good. So, yeah. That really, really, I wouldn't even say it was a slow build, because it didn't really build to this to this outcome in the season. Most of the season felt more like more little personal stories. Tanjiro going through a bunch of Hashira and having some interaction with some of them and learning something about himself, learning something about them, and that being that. And this just being more of a breather before finally shit hits the fan. And that's what it was. But it's like I didn't expect for shit to get so wild already at the end of this. And holy shit, did it ever. So I'm really happy. Now, of course, I can't wait for these movies to hit. And I hope all of them are going to get a Western movie theater release. Because then definitely I'm going to watch them. I'm going to try to watch them in IMAX. Because
if not that, then, just recut them for TV like the other movies.
Yes, I mean, they will do that. They cannot do that after doing it for the other movie they already released, right? So, but seeing the shit that's gonna happen now on the big screen, that's gonna be a treat, man. So yeah. I don't want to miss out on that. I already missed out on the Mugen Train movie in the movie theater.
Same, yeah.
But I'll definitely make sure once the release of the movies has been confirmed, or the release date has been confirmed, I'm going to make sure that I seek out my movie theater, the movie theaters close to me, and see if they have a showing of this with in Japanese with subtitles. So, man, this was not necessarily a roller coaster of a season, but definitely one of the strongest finishes of a season in a continued anime series ever.
Absolute God. Oh, man. The end of the second to last episode, I was just like, oh, man. And then that final episode hit and was like, oh, we're going, dude. Like, this show I've been sort of up and down on, but now at this point, it's like, okay, all right, we're there. We're in.
Yeah. We're going there. And yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to this. I mean, and outside of the great battles that are probably gonna ensue, we also have still some interesting, mysteries on our hand. We don't know what's up with Zenitsu. Finally, something interesting happening with the Zenitsu. Like, we don't know what his particular mission is that apparently makes him very sad and whatever. So that's gonna be interesting. We still have a bunch of demons we don't know that much about, and are we gonna have a rematch between the one from from the Demon Train arc and Tanjiro? I feel like that is something that needs to happen, as Tanjiro now being the inheritor of the will of Rengoku. So that's gonna be cool, and we're probably gonna have some other cool fights on our hand, but we don't know what's up with Nezuko and everything, so we'll see. I can see this being fantastic 3-part finisher to all of this. So really excited, man.
I'm trying to discern something here. I think the trilogy of movies is specifically the Infinity Castle arc.
Yeah.
And then the Sunrise Countdown arc might be separated out from that.
Yeah, that could be another movie then, or it could be, again, just another season of the anime series, because it's maybe not that visually, impressive as the Infinite Castle arc is, right? Because they didn't do a movie version of the Entertainment District arc. They didn't do a movie of the Swordsmith Village arc. They didn't do a movie of this season. So there's got to be a reason why they're going to do 3 movies for the next arc. So that's going to be interesting. And we'll see what comes after that. If that's going to be just another season of the anime or we're going to get more movies. But talk about doing a really good job at getting you hyped for what's to come.
Yeah.
Like, again, some parts of the season I was like, there could be more here, right? Like, I feel like if we had more episodes, maybe we could get into more of what some of the other Hashira are about that we didn't get that much screen time with. I was really bummed out that we didn't get more Kanroji because, like, her screen time, or at least her background screen time in the like actually learning about her character background was really limited in the previous season. I was like, is that all there is to her? Okay, that's a shame. I mean, she's still a cool character, but I hope there would be more. And this season didn't deliver on that either. So, okay. And then, we don't learn much about Iguro. We don't learn that much about or the perspective of Shinazugawa side of things. So maybe some of that will still come in the movies and in the next season, whatever. But that aside, it was still an entertaining, brisk season. I wasn't bored. And then with that killer finale, you just got me so immensely hyped for the next arcs that I'm like, oh God, I can't wait. And I hope the movies don't take too long to materialize themselves wherever. So yeah, looking forward to that. John, it seems like you feel the same.
Yeah, big same.
Where can people watch this season of Demon Slayer?
Crunchyroll, but I am certain, depending on where you live in the world, you can find a place to watch it. Because it's too popular to not be on everything.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and there's a reason for it. And looking forward for whatever it's to come, I'm pretty sure it's going to be big. It's going to be a big spectacle of a finale. And I can't wait to dive headfirst into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a wrap on the 158th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in this podcast is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vrrt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Find us where all the podcasts live, but also check out animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice if you can. Follow us on the socials or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
Take care, everybody. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
Big monsters and a big goof.
And when it gets tough to forage for food, sometimes you have to become a monster hunter.